Capitol Police for helping secure the building as the day went on.
All right, so montage, right?
What we know right now, 4 or 5 bombs that were set. One is the Republican National Committee.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? Yeah, me too. Yesterday was a real bummer, huh? Yeah, it's just sad. And we'll talk about it. I mean, look, I think we all, I think we went through the range of emotions. It was just all, it's just you go from confusion and, anger, and then you settle on it's just sad. It's just sad. The whole thing. Yeah, Bill, good morning. And I think you're right. I think it was just sad. That's where I'm at. I just can't believe something like that actually happened. So, yeah, it just stinks. Hey, Patrick, good morning. Oh boy, here we go. Well, look, I don't know what, I don't know what you're expecting, but I don't know. We'll see. My hope is that we can all kind of come to the same page here that yesterday was just not okay. Just unacceptable, unfortunately. We'll do a little behind the scenes here talking with Nicholas. Nick.
Yeah.
So we'll after we play our music, we'll play that cut, and then I'll come in.
Everybody just come to work, please.
Right,
Your out cue.
we just got to make sure we're on the same page. No, that's fine. I'll be able to do it. Or what is it? Do you have an out cue? It's fine if you don't. It's no big deal.
It's Pence. It's Pence's list.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Well, inside baseball for you guys. Yeah, just the punch to the gut is a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But, I think we'll talk it out. We'll figure this thing out. And, so find the video of Elizabeth from Knoxville. I don't know what that means. Patrick.
I believe it's a viral video going around of someone asking this woman, Elizabeth, what was happening. And she said, "We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution."
Oh, boy. Well, we won't be playing that. No. She was crying because she got made. Well, that's what Mace will do to you. But no, we won't be playing Elizabeth from Knoxville. She's not going to jive with the show today, Patrick. Also, if you guys haven't read it already, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you head on over to the Detroit News and read Melissa Burke's piece. It's stunning. It's got a lot of great insight to our lawmakers who were there, and she was there in the chambers, taking it all in. You got to go read it. I'm telling you, we're going to talk to her about it, but you got to go read it. It's a magnificent piece of writing.
Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
I was in the chamber when they ultimately started to shut it down, and the reports were pretty clear that there were people overtaking some of the doors and storming the Capitol, and there's no place for that.
To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house.
I want to get back in that chamber tonight to show that that mob cannot control this government, that we are so much better than what transpired, and we'll show what democracy looks like to the rest of the world, that we can have a transfer of power peacefully like we've done every year before. And we will debate issues, but we will not act this way.
At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself.
President Franklin Roosevelt set aside December 7th, 1941, as a day that will live in infamy. Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021, to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy.
The United States Senate will not be intimidated. We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation.
May God bless the lost, the injured, and the heroes forged on this day. May God bless all who serve here and those who protect this place. And may God bless the United States of America. Let's get back to work.
So on this holy day of Epiphany, let us pray. I'm a big believer in prayer. Let us pray that there will be peace on earth and that it will begin with us.
We've fulfilled this solemn duty every 4 years for more than 2 centuries. Whether our nation's been at war or at peace, under all manner of threats, even during an ongoing armed rebellion and the Civil War, the clockwork of our democracy has carried on.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes. The purpose of the joint session having concluded, pursuant to Senate Concurrent Resolution 1, 117th Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, there it is. Those are the people yesterday that had to go through, I don't know, a breach of our Congress, a breach of our Capitol. And I was sitting there watching it, and it was, I went through the range of emotions. I don't know about you, but I was confused. I couldn't understand what was happening, and then I went to disbelief, and then I went to anger, and then finally I think I just settled on I was sad. I was just bummed. I could not believe this was happening. And then you find out that somebody was shot, later died. 3 others died of medical emergencies. I mean, look, we don't know exactly what happened, right? Because I think this is all still being very much investigated in terms of what was going on inside the halls of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And we will know more in the coming days, I'm sure. Even today, we should know more. But it was just sad. It was just sad. And thank God we've got the law. Again, law enforcement in this country is just superb. And yep, I've got questions. Like where I guess I would have anticipated perhaps more of a police presence. But those questions will be answered at some point. And eventually, they were able to come and diffuse the situation. So again, I went through the range of emotions just like you did. You're sitting at home, you're at work, you're listening, you're watching, whatever it is. You went through the same emotions I did, and it sucks. It sucked. And I think the light at the end of yesterday's tunnel, at least for me, was the fact that they all decided to stay. They all decided to stay and do their constitutional duties after swearing an oath to the Constitution. Their work will not be deterred. Their resolve is there. Look, they're politicians, okay? They've got their own interests, and I would like to think try to do the work of the people. Well, yesterday, as you heard Mitch McConnell say in our opening montage, which was brilliantly put together by Nick Roddy, that we've been doing this for over 2 centuries, through wars, through depressions, through anything. This process of certifying and confirming electoral college votes has been going on for a very, very long time. And I'm so happy they stayed. It was a strong message to send to the people, not only in this country, not only you and me, but it was a strong message to send to the rest of the world. That we will not be deterred, no matter what happens. The work will get done, and they will stay there and get it done, and they will stay there for as long as it takes. So, as we search for more information, as it becomes available, we will pass it along to you. But today, I wanted to highlight a couple things that we're going to talk about, because I think it provides some insight into what happened yesterday. We'll talk to a representative who was there. We'll talk to a reporter who was there. We'll talk to a former representative about what are they, what you go through tornado drills in elementary school, right? In high school even. Where do you go when there's a tornado in your area? What do you do, right? You have these protocols that you practice. Fire drill, same thing. You got to have protocols in place. What are the protocols for something like this happening? We'll get to that. And then even from a national security standpoint, preparing for a huge gathering of people. What does it take? What do you got to do to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's? What do you got to do to be prepared? We'll get to all that coming up, but we will, coming up at 9:18, we'll talk to Paul Mitchell, talk about the protocols that Congress, representatives, senators, that they need to go through, that they have to go through, in order to prepare themselves for something like yesterday. 800-859-0957. Chris Renwick in for Frank Beckmann this week. He's on vacation. He'll be back with you Monday. But first, we got to go off to the roadways. 9:13. Check things out with our Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
15-minute delay for trucks across the Blue Water Bridge. Chris, westbound between Canada and the U.S. Hines Drive shut down both directions, eastbound and westbound at Outer Drive and Ann Arbor Trail. Time for the Light Fest display to come down. That will be closed until 2 p.m. today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Our forecast that features a lot of overcast here as we head through the afternoon, mid-30s. Overnight tonight, break up the clouds a bit, upper 20s. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sunshine with highs in the low 30s. Saturday and Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine with highs in the mid to upper 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stagicon, News Talk 760 WJR.
Have you been told you need spine surgery or just sick of living in pain? The Disc Institute has a proven, painless alternative. If your neck, back, or sciatic pain is due to a herniated, degenerative, or bulging disc, then you actually have two problems. One, your pain, and two, your bad disc. Drugs, therapies, epidurals, and new pain lasers are designed to only treat your pain, but they're not designed to treat your disc problem. And this is crucial because your bad disc is what's causing your pain in the first place. Without addressing your disc problem, your problem will get...
All right, let's add Nick Roddy here to the mix. Nick, what did obviously you were watching yesterday. What did you think?
It was just fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never expected to see anything like it. I was watching on TV, but I had it on mute, and then I was listening to hang on one second.
Yeah.
Jason's got it. I was listening to Guy Gordon and Kevin Dietz for most of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And
they did a great job. Yeah, they really did do a great job.
Hey, Paul,
and it's tough, especially when you're in the middle of it and it's all just unfolding. So it's really tough, but they did a fantastic job. And right, I think I agree with you. And I never would have thought I would have saw something like that. Ever. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought I would have seen our Capitol being, breached, being, broken into. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Bill, the police were outstanding. It took all hands on deck, including police from Maryland and Virginia. Absolutely. Yeah. And they were coming in by the busloads, quite frankly. When they were being called in, when they realized that there was a situation going on, they came in pretty quick and organized really quick. Now, again, I talk about protocols. I imagine that they've got protocols. I mean, you're in the suburbs of the nation's capital. I'm sure that that you are, you're prepared for things like this. So yeah, I would imagine that they have some sort of protocols as well. Nick, using those lion skills, putting that clip together. That's right. I think the pipe bombs in the other buildings pulled a certain amount of resources away from the Capitol. Well, sure. I mean, at least, they like you said, I think they needed an all hands on deck approach, and it certainly did. Nick, nice job on the montage. I like the comment this morning. I'm done with the 7-day trial of 2021. I could cancel it now. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I don't want it. Return it. Return it. Mark, my concern question was, where was the preparation or lack of security prep? I think that is the question. I think that's the question.
Here we go.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
Again, what happened at the Capitol yesterday was just unbelievable. I don't think any of us ever expected to see it. I mean, in terms of, specifically anybody getting into the Capitol, breaching the Capitol, getting in, and eventually, somebody was shot, killed. It was just a tragedy all around. It was, and like I said, I went through all the emotions, and I'm sure you did too, and I'm sure almost everybody did watching that yesterday or listening or whatever. And if you heard, look, if you weren't able to watch, I sure as heck hope you were able to listen to WJR. Guy Gordon was on fire. I mean, he was giving you everything. The moments it was happening. I mean, it was tremendous. So shout out Guy Gordon. I mean, just a tremendous job. So it was just unbelievable. And eventually I just settled on, it just bummed me out. I was just sad. Couldn't believe it was happening. And I know somebody else who shares a lot of those same sentiments, Paul Mitchell, the former congressman out in Dryden at Michigan's 10th district, on the other end of our line. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good. I'm disappointed. I'm sad that something like that happened yesterday. I in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought I would have seen something like that.
Oh, I'm heartsick. That's the only word I can come up with for it. The last time violence engulfed our nation's capital was in 1812. I want you to stop and think about that. Thugs, hoodlums, in my opinion, domestic terrorists took over our capital. The temple of democracy, where people go and debate issues. They disagree, but they went in and acted like fools. And that's simply unacceptable. I said in a tweet last night that responsibility for this rests with the President of the United States, with Donald Trump, and the members of Republican leadership that have failed to stand up to him and tell him he lost the election, which should have happened shortly after the election. They should have said enough's enough. And we've gotten this, and it can't be. This won't be easy to forget. This is not going to be forgotten. Let's be honest about it. This is a stain on our country, and it's sad.
One of the things that struck me, and it's admittedly, and I'm sure there are people that have covered this or have even thought about it, but it's not something I ever thought about. But when I saw a number of representatives, getting gas masks from under their seats, I thought, oh my gosh, they do have things at their disposal that in case something like this or something, heaven forbid, worse or not as bad. They do have things at their disposal or protocols that they have in case something like this happens. And I don't know that you're necessarily at liberty to share at length what those are, but what are you told, especially when you first get to Congress, to Capitol Hill, to Washington, D.C.? What are you told or taught or whatever about preparing for something like this and what you do in something, when something like this could or eventually happens?
Well, they go through some basic protocols. What wasn't routinely foreseen is a mass storming of the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
The last issue we had there was when a couple of police officers were shot. There's a gun battle in one of the office buildings there. They changed security then. There's a lot of doors to both the Capitol and the office buildings that lead to the tunnels of the Capitol. It's not an easy place to secure against a mass of people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they go through the protocols. There are gas masks. There are secure locations. They were evacuated to a secure location that won't be disclosed, and there's a couple of them. There's not just one. So they removed them and the Senate has some as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't be needed. They were put in place to deal with acts of terrorism, where after 9/11 in particular, unfortunately, and people have called it that, it was an act of terrorism that people were unhappy with the results of the election. They followed the lead of the president, Giuliani and Donald Jr., and they went down there to fight for what they want in the election outcome. And that's not how we settle things in this country. If you want to do that, move to Caracas. We're not a banana republic, as President Bush said. We're the United States of America. Let's act like it.
Yeah. When you talk about, because there's so much made about the relationships amongst lawmakers in Washington, D.C., there's a lot of strong opinions that people have, and certainly there are stronger personalities in Washington than others. We've seen that more now than ever. But in terms of the relationships that you have with people in Washington as a representative, you can absolutely disagree and even strongly disagree to the point where you can question how people think certain things. But what is the relationship that fellow lawmakers have on Capitol Hill?
Well, I think some of them are under stress, to be honest with you. As you know, I shortly after the election, given the way that it was being handled by President Trump and Republican leadership, I stepped away from the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
I indicated I would no longer participate. I couldn't be part of a Republican Party that didn't recognize something so fundamental as our elections, as the sanctity of our vote. To be honest with you, I've lost a number of what I call friends that I've not heard from, and they will have nothing to. That's gone. But I also will have a very difficult time looking at some of those people in the eye when they will support an effort that is counter to our Constitution, and they did. Separate from the whole issue of the riot that transpired yesterday, the idea that they would object to an election. Let's take Arizona, for example. It's a Republican governor. They voted by mail for 30 years, and yes, they have objections. Let's take Michigan, which was not one of the ones they objected to, but was complained about by the president, Giuliani. Michigan has a Republican legislature that certified the vote and the electors. Our Constitution says the states determine their elections and their electors.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. That's all there is to it. And the idea that they could say, we don't like it, or we have constituents that don't like it, therefore we're going to object and we're going to try and change the election. That happened, that maybe in Russia, I don't know, not here.
Let me ask you about the vote yesterday, the many votes that took place in terms of certifying and challenging each state. There were some challenges specifically to Arizona and specifically to Pennsylvania. Michigan didn't get enough juice in the Senate to actually have a debate on it. But the person who replaced you, Lisa Mclean, who we hope to talk to soon, she voted to challenge. I would love to just get your thoughts on what happened in terms of the actual nuts and bolts of the procedure yesterday.
I don't know what motivated Ms. McLean's decision to vote to object. I didn't see anything rationale. I can tell you that 121 members, Republicans, voted to object to Arizona's certification, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's a phenomenon that goes on in D.C. which they look for the protection of the herd. And that's what you saw is well, I'll go with them because, it's safer there.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of backbone. Okay, simple lack of backbone. Show me the evidence that there was some reason to question the electors that came from that state or any other. And no one has, other than they don't like the outcome. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, our political system, Chris, depends upon a politician accepting winning and losing with some other grace and maturity. And President Trump has failed to demonstrate that consistently, and that's disgusting.
There he is, Paul Mitchell, former congressman out of Dryden. Paul, we appreciate your insight so much. Thank you.
Take care, Chris.
Yep, you too. All right, more on the Frank Beckmann Show coming up next. But first, off to the roadways, we'll check things out there with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Chris, Hines Drive is shut down both directions. Eastbound and westbound at Outer Drive and Ann Arbor Trail closed due to Light Fest display. Those lights have got to come down. That will be shut down until 2 p.m. today. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Primetime Testing Laboratory. They offer complete automotive testing services. Primetime guarantees on-time delivery, accurate result reporting, and are a 2LA accredited. For your next automotive project, hire Primetime Testing Lab. Get a free quote at primetimetestinglab.com. That's primetimetestinglab.com. Cloudy skies, a high of 35 tonight. More clouds, low 27. 34 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
Welcome to Spotlight on the MEDC. I'm Ken Rogolski. The MEDC plays an important role in connecting businesses of all sizes.
All right, let's see. Let's get caught up on some comments here.
The executive vice president and chief.
They all need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Absolutely. You can only cheat and lie to the people for so long, you swamp rats. Chris, why don't you take some calls from the people? Well, we're going to try to get to as many calls as we can. We've got a lot to get to, so we'll do as best as we can, Jonathan. There were riots for days in D.C. June 1st, 2020. Apparently, these riots were unacceptable. No riots are unacceptable. 0 riots are unacceptable. Seeing a man sitting in front of Pelosi's deer with feet and the deer gear, the get up, the hat with feet propped up says a lot about the Secret Service. Someone needs to lose their job over this one. I don't know that the Secret Service would have jurisdiction there. I don't know that. I think it's Capitol Police. But yeah, there was a surprisingly small amount of presence there for something. So for a big rally, I was surprised to see that. You can't put all the supporters in that boat. I agree with people damaging and then entering the building are terrorists. Well, I don't think. I mean, there were a lot of people that didn't go into the Capitol, that didn't participate in the madness there. I don't think that all those people are bad. I just think at some point, you have to rein people in a little bit, and that didn't happen yesterday. Hopefully Chris talks with the people. Jonathan, I know you really want to talk, man. We're going to try to get to as many of you as we can. I promise. TCF, you don't cover Windows unless... Oh, I lost it. Where is it at? You don't cover Windows unless you're hiding what you're doing. You'll never change my mind. Okay. Then that's your mind has been made up, Jonathan. Denise, totally unacceptable, Chris. The left did nothing but pummel Trump for 4 years. Really? Did they act civil during BLM and Antifa protests? Nope, those are all unacceptable as well. Fires, looting, beating people in the streets, harassing senators. What a disappointing show. The Dems would have called this a peaceful protest, and all you can say is this congressman is agree. This is not about losing the election. It was a stolen election. Okay. Disappointing broadcast. Okay. Sorry, Denise. Paul Mitchell, I appreciate your perspective, but to say there was no significant fraud or irregularities is also disingenuous. Once again, Republicans attacking Republicans and talk shows. Bill Sheridan, so true. I think you are on the wrong side for this station. Okay. BLM and Antifa were not prosecuted. Hollywood bailed them out. Pelosi and Schumer called them mostly peaceful. Okay. It is Capitol Police for their coverage. Yep, that's right, Mark. The whole event was set up by the Dems. They should have set up barriers knowing this rally was going to take place. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, wrong is wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. Nobody is saying that any protest is any worse or better than another. That's not the case at all. The fact of the matter is, wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong. Hammurabi's eye for an eye is not applicable here in 2021. It just isn't. So at some point, look, here's the facts. The facts is nothing is permanent. Nothing is forever. Not in this country. How many presidents have come before us? How many leaders have come before us? How many lawmakers have come before us? Passed legislation that they're not even relevant anymore. They're not even in the books. Nothing is permanent. Nothing. I would argue that much of what happened yesterday was just flat out sad. And that's whether it's just my take. It's my stance.
I don't know how you could have another. I mean, who can call it anything other than sad?
It's just it's disappointing. Again, I never thought I'd see a day where a group of people would storm the Capitol. And then, take an American flag down and then put another flag up. I never thought I'd see that. It was incredible. It's just disappointing. It's sad. So that's just the truth of the matter. Adam, I didn't vote for Trump because of the way he pummeled Obama for 8 years with birther claims and secret Muslim innuendo. How can any decent person not see that this is more of the same? You can't drain the swamp with more of the swamp. I mean, Roger Stone, Nixon's butt buddy. Sorry, but Trump is the con man that took advantage of both parties passing legislation that benefits lobbyists and special interests. If you want the swamp drained, then you need to elect honest men and women, regardless of party. Well, I mean, look, I think that should be our goal always. And it's not even that. It's that you vote for people who most closely will do the things that you feel that should be done. That's it. That's what voting is. Voting is whatever you think is best for you and your family. That's who you vote for.
News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957. I think when we are in the coming days, as more information becomes available, we'll be able to then finally get a good look at this thing and what happened. I think most were disappointed in what they saw yesterday. I mean, it is that I don't know what other thoughts or emotions are possible. Just sad. No riots are acceptable. None. And I think suggesting that other things that have happened across the country are worse, better, that doesn't matter. They're all bad. And that's the crux of the issue. None of this is acceptable. None of what happened yesterday is acceptable. And again, we will learn more. Somebody died. Somebody was shot and killed yesterday at the Capitol. That's crazy. That's crazy. And we're learning more about her, the woman, a 14-year Air Force veteran. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. Ashley had served 14 years and did 4 tours of duty, was married and lived in San Diego. Her husband said, I'm numb, I'm devastated. Nobody from D.C. notified my son, and we found out on TV. Her husband's mother, Robin Babbitt, told the Post, saying her daughter-in-law is a Trump supporter. Everything's pretty surreal, added her brother-in-law, Justin. It's hard because we haven't been officially notified. The day before she was fatally shot, apparently by Capitol Police, Babbitt tweeted, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here and it's descending upon D.C. in less than 24 hours, dark to light." Meanwhile, 3 others were died as a result. There were 52 arrests made, and the 3 others were ended up dying as a result of a medical emergency. So, people were hurt. People were arrested. It's not a good scene. And to get somebody else who was there in the thick of it, Debbie Dingell, the congresswoman out of Michigan's 12th district out of Dearborn, was there yesterday. Debbie, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm tired. I haven't been to bed.
Yeah, I can imagine. You guys got done about 4:00 this morning. And
we got our job done.
Yeah. And I think, I think at the end of the day, that's what I found most, to be honest, I found most comforting. I heard Mitch McConnell talk, and talked about how this duty that our lawmakers have been tasked with has been carried out for over 2 centuries, through wars, through famines, through everything that you can imagine. It's been done. And you guys were able to get it done again yesterday.
We did. Yesterday was one of the most disturbing days in my life, my career. Our democracy was really under attack. And I hope it was a wake-up call for many Americans about how we are being pitted against each other, how we are being divided with fear and hatred, and that we cannot take our democracy for granted. Former President George Bush said we looked like a banana republic yesterday. We have to, all of us have to work to protect our democracy. But it's still surreal to me in many ways that what happened, the kind of evil, the anger, the violence that happened in the Capitol. And you're right, that people died. There were consequences. It was, and I don't think I realized how serious it was as we were in the middle of it. I did not really see clips until this morning because I was on the floor, I'd been in the undisclosed location, which didn't have a television, and then back on the floor. These crowds really were terrifying.
To talk to me about what happened to you. I only got about a minute left. Talk to me about what happened when you were you were almost getting ready to speak yesterday before they sent everybody away. Tell me about that.
You know, we were in the chamber. People were trying to keep the process going, and law enforcement came in and told us to sit down, take out our gas masks. We may need to get on the floor very quickly. I began to get a whiff of the tear gas. They were trying to secure the chamber with tables and benches against doors. The pounding started. We heard the gunshots. It was real, but you didn't really understand that someone who the place she was shot and killed was a place I walked by 10 times a day. It was right there. Mm-hmm. And then we were ultimately evacuated in a very quick, how people panic way, and taken to an undisclosed location for a number of hours to keep us safe.
Last question here. I got about 30 seconds left. How do we turn the heat down? Who is responsible for that?
All of us. We have to remember that we can disagree agreeably. We got to reach across the aisle. We got to find that common ground. We got to remember the community is the strength of democracy, and we're all part of the community. We got to stop looking at each other as being the enemy, and remember we're all united we stand, divided we fall.
Well, I hope that's true for both sides of the aisle. I hope both sides of the aisle are able to do that. I really do. And
I'm committed to do that.
I'll hold you to it, Congresswoman. Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
Fair enough. All right, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, thank you. Glad you're safe, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You got it. 9:42 here on the Frank Beckmann Show. More to come, but first off to the roadways with Dana Clark.
Slow-moving maintenance vehicle has 2 lanes closed. Your left 2 lanes are blocked due to a moving midday work crew that's scheduled until noon today. It's in Novi, M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com.
I was trying to use some meteorological will and trying to change this pretty boring forecast, but I couldn't do it. The overcast will stay with us, and we stay in the mid-30s today. Tonight, 27, suburbs maybe a little cooler. Friday, clouds, sun, high 33, and we'll keep it dry and relatively mild over the weekend. A mix of clouds and sunshine, highs in the mid-upper 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Staging on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hey guys, 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty here. 2020, thank goodness, is behind us, but we have to prepare for 2021. So as the Christmas season leads into the new year, we all enjoy winter, getting outside. The snow's coming. We want to be outside making snowmans. We want to be outside riding toboggans, riding sleds, doing all this stuff with the family, but we can't if we're in pain. What are you going to do? I have a solution. Pain Free Life Centers in Troy. Make them your first choice, not your last resort.
Let's see here. A peaceful protest is acceptable, as always. Peaceful protests are protected under the Constitution, and they are absolutely our right as citizens of this country to peacefully protest. When they don't turn, when they take a turn, and they become not peaceful, that's where the issue is. Yes, she was killed by Capitol Police. The blood's on their hands. Why does anybody need to have blood on their hands? Why does anybody need to be shot?
Sure, you can post your job to some job.
They don't. It happens when our side is in the wrong. There are no morals. Your road just needs to be a little higher than the other. Everybody should be on the same road, same path. About 95% of the people there were peaceful. But the 5% or so attacking the Capitol was anything but. Yeah, I mean, look, I just think it's you spoil everything when that happens. Why is none of this acceptable, but only react to it when it's the Republicans doing it? No one should have been inside the Capitol. They should have been arrested, but react the same when it's the Dems. Jan, I mean, I totally understand. I can't imagine that you can listen every moment of every show, and I don't expect that. But we have been certainly critical of any violent protest anywhere across this country, no matter who's taking part. I mean, none of this is acceptable. And unfortunately, we have to talk about this because our citizens just ran into the Capitol. Somebody was shot. Our Capitol in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. That is unacceptable. That should not, it should draw sadness. It should draw disappointment. Marie, I'm taken aback by what Chris read from the social media of the woman who was shot. Was her statement basically like an extremist? I mean, I don't know. Sure, you could take it that way. Yeah, it's just sad. It's just all sad. Set us back 10 years at least. Well, I hope not. I hope that's not the case. I hope it propels us forward. I hope things can change a little bit, but we'll see. I don't pretend to have those answers. Time will tell.
How's the coffee, Chris? I know yesterday we were talking about your French press that you got for Christmas.
This is not French press. This is just okay. Only because I got to.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I got to take every moment I can to prepare for our people.
All right,
to prepare for our listeners.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
I also want to read you some of this because these are people that have been in support of much of what the president has done in his time in office. And I just want to read you some of these reactions from some people. So this is a Michigan native. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos. The eyes of America's children and students, the rising generation who will inherit the republic we leave them, are watching what is unfolding in Washington today. We must set a better example for them, and we must teach them the solemn obligations and duties that come with the title American. The peaceful transfer of power is what separates American representative democracy from banana republics. Congress assembled today to fulfill its constitutional duty to certify the election of the next president of the United States, the same Constitution I swore an oath to support and defend. An angry mob cannot be allowed to attack our Capitol and impede this process. This disruption and violence must end. The law must be upheld, and the work of the people must go on. That's from Secretary of State Betsy DeVos. Eric Trump joined the party. We are the party of law and order. Prosecute anyone who crosses that line to the fullest extent of the law. Minority House Leader Kevin McCarthy here. What is unfolding is unacceptable and un-American. It has got to stop. Lindsey Graham, who made, I thought, a very impassionate speech last night on the Senate floor, in the Senate chambers. And look, I don't expect everybody to watch that, but we watch it for you. We're able to bring you what's going on. And I watched a lot of it. And I couldn't watch it because if I was up till 4 a.m., I'd be sleeping this morning here on Facebook and on YouTube and on your airwaves. So I didn't watch the whole thing, admittedly, but we did watch a lot of it. And I thought Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Graham started, about 2016 as the president was running for the office. He was a skeptic. He wasn't necessarily somebody who was hook, line, and sinker a Donald Trump supporter from the get-go. But he was able to change. He was able to, talk to the president, and was able to look. They found a lot of common ground. Lindsey Graham became a huge supporter of the president. One of his biggest allies in DC. And Lindsey Graham's comments in the Senate chamber last night were strong. Basically, cutting ties. He broke up with President Trump last night. He broke up with him. And it was strong coming from him. And he didn't quite say, it's not you, it's me. I don't think that was his breakup line. But it was strong, and it was strong coming from somebody like Lindsey Graham.
Mr. Blanks, there's no need to be.
And he said yesterday on Twitter, those who made this attack on our government need to be identified and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Their actions are repugnant to democracy. I support peaceful protests, but not violence and destruction. People need to leave the Capitol now. This is a national embarrassment. He went on. The U.S. Senate must reconvene today and finish our constitutional work, calling for federal officials to form a task force to identify those who breached the Capitol, vandalized our national institutions, and expect prosecutions to the fullest extent of the law. Very grateful to frontline police, but incredibly upset those in charge lost control of the U.S. Capitol. Will not let this go unchallenged. I could not agree more with President-elect Biden's statement to the nation. Time to retake the Capitol, end the violence, and stop the madness. Time to move forward in governing our nation. Our differences are real, but the love of our nation overwhelms our differences. Marco Rubio, who, if you remember, in the Republican primaries back in 2015, was not a very strong supporter of the president, but again, came to be able to find common ground, and it never had been a strong supporter of the president, but was a supporter nonetheless. He tweeted out, Mr. President, at real Donald Trump, the men and women of law enforcement are under assault. It is crucial you help restore order by sending resources to assist the police and ask those doing this to stand down. There is nothing patriotic about what is occurring on Capitol Hill. This is third world style anti-American anarchy. Finally, the vice president weighed in at about 3:30. The violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol must stop, and it must stop now. Anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. We condemn the violence that took place here in the strongest possible terms. We grieve the loss of life in these hollowed halls, and we, as the injuries and as well as the injuries suffered by those who defended our Capitol today. And we will always be grateful for the men and women who stayed at their post to defend this historic place. To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house. And he echoed a lot of those sentiments again in his speech when they finally took their seats again. These are a lot of Donald Trump's people. These are his supporters. These were his people that he could count on in Washington, D.C. These violent protesters are doing what these violent protesters are doing is the opposite of patriotism. It is shameful, and I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. That's from Michigan's own Ronna McDaniel. Ted Cruz, who, if you remember, Ted Cruz was leading the charge in challenging many of these states. Ted Cruz said violence is always unacceptable, even when passions run high. Anyone engaged in violence, especially against law enforcement, should be fully prosecuted. God bless the Capitol Police and the honorable men and women in law enforcement who show great courage keeping us all safe. Those storming the Capitol need to stop now. The Constitution protects peaceful protests, but violence from the left or right is always wrong. And those engaged in violence are hurting the cause that they support. So yeah. I mean, these are Donald Trump supporters. And at some point, I think it's important that we just put some of this aside, some of this nonsense aside. We need to be focused on not breaking into the Capitol building. That is not constructive. That is not how we make our voices heard. We can do that in elections. You can do that by running for office. That's how we do things here. And then today, of course, we got word that our Capitol building here in Michigan was closed down, which has since been reopened after there were bomb threats made. And also getting information from a source that I trust, that one of the explosives devices that was found in the Capitol building was a pipe bomb inside the Capitol building. I mean, this was wholly unacceptable. And again, after going through the range of emotions that we all went through, sadness is where I landed. It was a, I don't know, a grim day. So that's where we're at. And more information will be coming out, and we will bring it to you. I'm sure as the day wears on, more information will be coming out about what happened as they continue to investigate what happened. Coming up next, just a remarkable story. And we're going to bring it to you from somebody who was inside the House chamber and wrote a tremendous piece in the Detroit News. Melissa Burke is the Detroit News Washington bureau chief. She will be joining us to give us a first-hand account of what she experienced yesterday inside the Capitol building in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. 9:57, off to the roadways. We'll get an update there with our Dana Clark. Dana.
Just looking at construction today along 275 southbound between Michigan Avenue and 94, scheduled for midday work. That left lane is closed. Also in Novi, construction along M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. 2 left lanes are closed due to those moving midday work crews as scheduled until noon today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Sponsored by Clarkston Window and Door. Over 31 years in business, over 450 combined years of experience installing windows. Trusted specialists at Clarkston Window and Door. Act now to take advantage of 31%.
All right, let's see here. No, she is a Q supporter, and they believe yesterday the truth was going to come out and Trump would win. It's a whole Q thing, but a lot of them are passionate and patriot. But they are part of a greater conspiracy group. Oh, you're speaking about Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was killed, the 14-year Air Force veteran, who was killed. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure we'll learn more about her as well. But she's gone, and that's a shame. My overall view of yesterday: Trump burned all of his bridges and threw Pence under the bus. Well, I mean, maybe, maybe it's possible. We'll see how it goes. It seems like I said, Lindsey Graham broke up with him yesterday. He didn't really mince words. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. But he was certainly harsh on Vice President Mike Pence. That's for sure. Bill, honestly, I'm still in disbelief. Rocco, great show. Christopher, I like that, Chris. That's nice. Thank you.
Only your real friends call you Christopher.
My mother calls me Christopher. That's right.
Yes.
Truth will always matter.
And your wife when you're in trouble.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And now Jake has reverted to calling me Christopher, which is weird.
Also when you're in trouble.
Yeah. Notice it's okay for Antifa to burn and riot, but patriots can't uprise. It was okay 100 years ago. Then we were called patriots, but not now. Now it's unpatriotic to take a stand against fraud. It is not okay for Antifa. It is not okay for anybody. Listen, it is not okay for anybody to burn, loot, break in, break things, threaten, anything that would be related to illegal actions. None of it's okay. None of it's okay. I do take a bit of a different stance when you're breaking into our Capitol. When you're breaking into our, the way that we handle our business. There are things in life that are just so they're just so unbelievable. Like they're so historic that it's shocking when you see something that is so jarring to what that thing is that you have this visceral reaction to it. You know, there are soldiers and veterans who've lost their lives simply to protect a tattered and torn American flag on the front lines of battle. The piece of fabric that encompasses what we are as a people, as a nation. And when you then take it up a step, and people are breaking in to our home, our place of business, our way that we run our country, it's jarring. It's jarring when people are taking over city blocks and when they're burning businesses that don't belong to them. Sure, that's jarring. But when you go to our nation's capital and break in to the chambers, these beautiful rooms with history, and you're taking pictures and acting silly, and no, it just feels that it's different. And I'll tell you one other thing that was stunning to me. And Nick, you can hop in on this too. And I don't know if you saw it. I didn't see a lot of it, but I did see it, and it was stunning to me. So Nick, Nick knows more than anybody. Now you all are going to learn what a ridiculous nerd I am. But I'm a big Game of Thrones guy. Love the show. It was terrific. I haven't read the books. I haven't read the books. I don't have time to read, gigantic novels. But I will say that the show was terrific. Hated the ending, but that's okay. We'll move past it. And I loved it. Now, something yesterday I saw made me think of Game of Thrones, or made me think of like old timey, like this is what they used to do, like knights and storming a castle and whatever. I don't know at what portion of the Capitol they were at, the perimeter they were on, but there was a huge wall, and somehow people got to the top of the wall, and then they threw ropes down, and then people were scaling the wall, climbing up, and I was literally flabbergasted.
Just like the battle at the wall of Game of Thrones.
It was like the battle at the wall. Exactly. It was the wildlings trying to get over the wall. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it. Dun, 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 dun. I just never saw anything like it. I never thought I would see that in 2021 at our nation's capital. It was stunning. And that's why it's so sad. And when I say like things mean something to people, and like I'll tell you, here's another story. Like, so I was in choir in high school, right? And we were pretty good. And we took a trip 2 times to New York City, and we got to sing at Carnegie Hall. Okay. Carnegie Hall is probably one of the most, if not the most famous like music halls in the entire world.
Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
It was stunning learning of the information that was happening, but also just watching things unfold yesterday was stunning for viewers like me and you who were watching on television and only getting kind of the outside perspective, right? We saw people breaking windows. We saw people climbing scaffolding. We saw people scaling walls. We saw people actively, break into the Capitol, breaking windows, climbing through windows, pushing Capitol Police around. I mean, it was shocking. It was shocking from just a visceral standpoint. It was stunning to see something like this, something I never thought I would see ever. But there was a whole other perspective that we just didn't see, and that was inside. We saw a little bit, especially pictures as they were being leaked on social media and posted. But especially in those tense moments before people were able to get to safety, or security and police were able to kind of control the situation. And I came across this story in the Detroit News. I guess it was late last night, and it's titled "Inside House Chamber: Gas Masks, Barricades, and I Love You Text." And if you haven't had the opportunity, I told you earlier, you got to go and read this story. I mean, it's stunning. And I wanted to make sure we told this story here on the show. So I was able to get a hold of and finally coax to come on Melissa Burke, who is the Detroit News Washington bureau chief, who now joins us this morning. Melissa, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you're safe. I'm happy that you're safe. I would love for you to tell me specifically in those brief moments, as things were starting to escalate, what you were experiencing, what you were seeing inside where you were inside the House chamber.
I think that it hit me what was happening. You know, we're paying very close attention. I was up in the gallery and we were paying close attention to what was happening on the floor. And we could hear some commotion and some banging, but it wasn't clear. It wasn't kind of clear the level of threat. I think until a Capitol Police officer came in and, said basically that that their people had gotten into the building had been breached, and they were in the rotunda and they were headed this way. And he was urging lawmakers to stay calm. And, at this point they had kind of whisked away the leadership. And then we started to kind of hear this banging, on the gallery doors. There was, chanting and shouts, and, it was just a bit chaotic, and hard to follow what was happening and where it was coming from, because it's a very large room, echoey. And, at some point they directed the lawmakers to put on, pull the gas masks. I think they're actually called smoke hoods, from under their seats. They started handing them down the rows to us in the House gallery, to the press, and there's a few dozen lawmakers in the gallery. So yeah, that was when things got very serious. It's hard to kind of in the moment, it gets kind of scrambled in your mind, what happened when, but,
let me ask you this, because another, I viewed it as a proud moment, especially for our representatives here from the state of Michigan. You told a story about Bill Huizenga, a congressman out of the west side of Michigan, who was actively trying to help barricade the doors. And we all saw, and I'm sure you have seen now, but the stunning pictures of police and security with their guns drawn, pointing at the doors, who had the windows kind of broken out and yelling people to get back and whatever. And those were absolutely surreal, stunning pictures. But you highlighted a story here of Congressman Huizenga actively trying to help the police and officials barricade the door. Could you tell me more about that?
Yeah. And when we watched that all unfold, it was surreal, to see these police officers who, saved our lives. I think. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if they had gotten into the room. You're kind of thinking to yourself, am I going to see somebody die today? I mean, it's like quite a moment. But those, they had Congressman Bill Huizenga, told me this story about how he was down on the floor and, he saw what was happening at the central doors, where theirs was banging, and they eventually broke through the glass there. some of the law enforcement officers had dragged a big desk over from the corner of the chamber, and they were piling other furniture on top of it, like benches and stuff. And Heisinger and an officer were trying to carry another bench over. I mean, that's like heavy furniture in there.
Yeah.
You kind of
they're not really from IKEA there in the House chamber.
Yeah, yes, they're kind of building this pile of furniture up against the doors, but these these guys were banging on the door. They broke through the glass, and the officers had their guns drawn, pointed at the windows, and were telling them to get back, over and over again. And that's where at that point we had been moved in the gallery. Most of the members had been evacuated from the chamber at that point. And I know Heisinger told me that at the point where there was a big bang, we weren't quite sure what the bang was. It kind of sounded like a gunshot, but we think it was probably a flashbang or tear gas, unclear still at this point to me. But at that point, he and the officer dropped the bench they were carrying, and the officer told him to get out, sir, please, you need to leave. Yeah. And so he told me at that point he got out of the room and evacuated to a safe space.
Another
we were all still up in the gallery with a few dozen lawmakers and the press who were covering the proceedings, and we didn't have a way out. We were still hearing this banging, so we're kind of watching this standoff happening on the floor, and I think that was eventually subdued. And my recollection is then we were still hearing. We were trying to get out, but they didn't think it was safe for us to unlock the doors to the gallery. So we were kind of just all taking cover and waiting to see how we would get out. And you hear law enforcement were yelling on the other side of the door, who is it? Who's banging on the door? And I thought there must be some sort of protocol that I remember thinking to myself, there's got to be some protocol for cops like yelling through a door like this to identify other law enforcement, and I hope these guys know that.
you tell another story.
All those officers who were there yesterday, a ton of credit for keeping us safe and getting us out safely, eventually evacuating us. Yeah, because it was terrifying.
You tell another story of Peter Meyer, the congressman, the newly elected congressman, just sworn in last weekend, and he mentions how disappointing it was that now he went from in this great body that now he's a part of, looking around to assess what to do if someone were to open fire. He's an Iraq War veteran, and that's an incredible story. And then you even talked about a story where you had to send an "I love you" text to your husband. I don't want to give the whole thing away. I'm happy you're safe. I want people to go read the story. And it's a tremendous piece. You kept an incredible amount of composure and continued reporting even as all of this was going down. Tremendous job. I'm so happy you're safe, and keep up the great work, and we'll keep following you. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thanks. Take care.
Yep, you got it. Melissa Burke over at the Detroit News. Happy, and believe me, if you haven't read it, go read it. It's incredible stories about our lawmakers here in Michigan. All right, more to come here on the Frank Beckmann Show, 800-859-0957. But first, off to the roadways, check things out there with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Looking at a disabled vehicle along the Southfield Freeway northbound at Grand River. That vehicle is reported on the right side of that entrance ramp. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Well, when there's change, I'll be blaring the trumpets because this is pretty quiet. Cloudy sky through the afternoon, mid-30s. Overnight tonight, upper 20s. Some clouds around. Suburbs will be a little colder. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sunshine, 33. Saturday and Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine. Highs in the mid-upper 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stitchick on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hey guys, four-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty here. 2020, thank goodness, is behind us, but we have to prepare for 2021. So as the Christmas season leads into the new year, we all enjoy winter, getting outside, The snow's coming. We want to be outside making snowmans. We want to be outside riding toboggans, riding sleds, doing all this stuff with the family, but we can't if we're in pain. What are you going to do? I have a solution. Pain-free life centers in Troy. Make them your first choice, not your last resort. High doses, high intensity laser treatment at the cellular level. No injections, no needles, nothing like that. What a great way to start out 2021. Make Pain-free life centers your first option, not your last resort. You'll have nothing to lose but your pain. Call 248-879-1100, 248-879-1100, or visit painfreelifecenters.com. Tell them DMAX sent you.
Have you seen what's happening with the stock market? Record highs every day. How long can this possibly go on for? By the way, this is exactly what happened right before the 2000 dot-com bubbles burst. Remember that? Protect your savings in retirement by putting them into something safe like real gold and silver. I'm not talking about gold or silver stocks, but into real gold and silver you can actually hold in your hands. How do you get real gold and silver? By calling the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. Now, the Oxford Gold Group will teach you everything you need to know about owning real gold and silver. It's so much easier than you think. So call the Oxford Gold Group right now at 833-600-GOLD to get your free gold and silver investment guide. The Oxford Gold Group is the only gold and silver company that I trust, and you should too. Get the Oxford Gold Investment Guide today and learn how easy it is to have real gold and silver delivered to your home, or how to have real gold and silver in your retirement account. Call the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. That's 833-600-GOLD.
How did we ever come to the belief that we have no control over the inevitability of heart attack or stroke? That it was somehow predestined in our genes, inherited, or inevitable due to some random chance that outsmarted the medical field? We've come to accept these two fallacies, but the fact is that heart attack and stroke are 100% preventable, and cardiac disease is reversible. It's not in the genes, it's in your profile. It's time to take charge of your health. Call Dr. Brian Collender at 866-KOLENDER.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957. That's the number for you to call or text. And again, I think we're all just kind of reeling and trying to make sense of what happened yesterday. This is something that, again, this is one of those events that we will inevitably remember. For every wrong reason possible. And that's the sad part in all of this. I'll try to get a couple calls in here. Let's go to Rob in Sterling Heights. Good morning, Robert.
How you doing today, Chris?
Hey, what's going on?
I really appreciate what Debbie Dingle had to say, and I sincerely hope she meant it, because I don't agree with her too often, but I think that's what leaders need to do. Okay, number one thing. And you know what? I have to ask a question. I never want to justify any violence, but I have to ask you a question. Why do you think people are so angry they would do that? 1.5 million people go to Washington, D.C., and some people would breach the Capitol. Is it because they lost the public trust?
I think
people have come out and talked about banana republics. Let me tell you something. I've lived them firsthand. I know what happens. And when you lose the public faith, lose the public trust, because you silence dissenting opinions, people don't have faith in elections. The media is not doing what they're supposed to do. That's a problem.
Well,
to gain those back, you have to have secure elections and make sure you're committed to it.
Well, absolutely. Security in our elections is paramount. But I'll say this, Rob, and I also appreciated what Debbie Dingle had to say, because and this is why I specifically asked the way I did, and I told her, we'd hold her to it, because here's the thing: is we do need to cool the heat a little bit. We do need to do that, and it's not just Republicans. It's not, Republicans who have grievances. It's not just Democrat. Everybody has to do it. Everybody. There has to be uniform changes for the better for everybody. And that's the situation that I think we find ourselves in. So I very much hope that what Debbie Dingell said is true. I very much hope that elected officials are able to do that. And at least give people some confidence that we're not just sending them there and paying them $170,000 a year for nonsense. That's my hope. Let's go to and thank you for the call, Rob. I appreciate it. Let's go to Ron in Rochester Hills. Good morning, Ronald.
Hi, good morning.
Hey.
You know, I was watching Laura Ingraham last night, and she had a guest on, and they were talking about, you know, all the violence that's going on, and then they were comparing it to violence that happened during the summer and so on, and things like George Floyd. And George Floyd's situation, everybody saw that. Everybody knows what happened there, and people were outraged on both sides of the aisle, and all colors and religions were outraged. The election results have been proven over and over to be valid, and this violence that took place was for something that was not really real. It was an accusation, an allegation by the president, and who he and his son and Giuliani stirred up everybody, and they did violence. And the prediction of this was on Facebook. They were talking about it on Facebook, and I don't know why they didn't have enough people there to protect the Capitol building. I just don't understand it. And also, you know, Trump is getting people to donate all this money so that he would be able to fight, you know, saying stop the steal. But the bottom line is, fine print says he can keep money that is not used for that purpose, and so he's getting millions of dollars from people, and he's not using it all for.
Well, look, Ron, and I just want to see if you would agree with this. I mean, any sort of violent acts should not should not be accepted. It should not be accepted by anyone at all, ever. No matter what you're protesting, no matter what you're rallying against, no matter what you stand for, none of it is acceptable. And we have to get to a point. Again, this goes back to these elected officials need to step up. They need to get involved and tell people enough is enough. They're the ones that have to do this. This is this is a reason we put them there for. None of this should go on.
Said that yesterday. You know, they said this is it. This is enough. And also, it's been reported that Trump didn't send out the National Guard for a long time. They had to beg him to do it, and he let this go on. And he just right now he's unhinged from what I can see.
Well, look, here's and Ron, I appreciate the call. Thank you. I think we're going to start to learn more. It's hard to speculate on a lot of things until we get information. Right? We have to wait for some information to come out, and we can make informed decisions based on that information. But they're going to investigate. They're going to figure out what happened here, and they'll get to the bottom of this. Police, investigators, they'll get to the bottom of it. I trust that. Let's try to get one more call in here before the break. Let's go to Chris in Macomb. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. I wish we didn't have to talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's a sad day for America, but yes, but this has been a long time coming, I think. And when Trump first was elected in office, they elected him in basically because people were tired of politicians. And yesterday, President-elect Biden gets out and says, our words either inspire or incite. But for the past 4 years, all we've seen is people inciting. You know, you see Nancy Pelosi tearing up the State of the Union address. You see Donald Trump name calling, and now they talk about peace, and they've really, you know, done this to the American people by what they put out there and what they get on the news show and what they talk about. And, you know, we need to inspire the people, but they've incited it, and now they're talking peace. And it's really kind of disturbing that, you know, the politicians now, you know, trying to bring it all back after they stoke the flames.
Well, how about Chuck Schumer yesterday tweeting "buckle up" when they found out that they won both seats in the Senate in the Georgia runoff? Yeah. These are comments that we don't need. These are the things. So when Debbie Dingell says they're going to turn it down, when Debbie Dingell says that, I hope she's being honest with us. I hope she's telling us the truth. I hope that's the marching orders from the party. And I hope the same for the Republicans. We need to lower it down. We need to relax, and we need to stop putting these things out there, because I think you're right to a certain extent. We don't need any more of this. None. Not from any group protesting, not from any group of supporters protesting, none of it. We don't need any of it. Good call, Chris. Thank you. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJ are the number for you to call or text. All right, off to the roadways. We'll get an update on our road situation with our Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, looking at disabled vehicle, Chris, along the Southfield Freeway northbound at Grand River, that the vehicle is blocking the right side of that entrance ramp. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Cloudy skies once again today. Just like the same day over and over again, a high of 35 tonight, clouds or low 27. Partly cloudy on Friday, a high of 32. 34 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Charity Burke, Executive Director of the Oakland Mediation Center. Oakland Mediation Center is a volunteer-based nonprofit organization and leader in the field of alternative dispute resolution. Professionally trained experts model integrity in mediation, dispute resolution, education, and low-cost legal services. Anyone can refer.
Let's see here. So maybe the right was right, and this is the end of the Republican Party. Not because
providing sustainable, low-cost.
Not because of the Dems win, but because loyal Trumpers won't vote for anyone like Pence or McConnell because Trump blames them, and Republicans won't vote for Trump's 2024. They did it to themselves. Bill, Trump doesn't need the money. I don't think in his wildest dreams that his followers would attack the Capitol.
Go to our website.
He called out the National Guard as soon as the mayor of D.C. asked. First, if violence is never acceptable, how do we view our break with England?
Empowering people to resolve their own conflicts and take control back of their lives, creating a better and stronger community. When the coronavirus strikes,
we were fighting for our freedom. We were fighting for what our founders were fighting for, what they thought was right. Unless you're Jim, and I don't think you are, but unless you're advocating for a different type of government, no, I don't. This is not right. It's not comparable. A whole people, a whole group of people fought for our freedom. So I don't think this is apples to apples here. John B. Adams, who is this jackhole? Are you trying to lose your audience? My name is Chris Renwick, John. Good to meet you. I don't think I'm a jackhole. I don't know. Some others might think that.
Maybe he's talking about a caller? I don't know.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. My name's Chris. If I'm the jackhole you're referring to.
Says it right.
Yeah, right here. Right here. There it is. There, right here. Boom. Chris Renwick. That over there is Nick Roddy right there. That's Nick Roddy. I am Chris Renwick right here.
It's a lot easier if we use the other hand.
I should get like a like the teachers used to have where they like point on the boards, like those long extenders, or like a ruler. So that's me. That's Frank or Nick. We're not jackholes. At least I don't. I mean, maybe Nick has called me a jackhole behind my back. I don't know. WJR has to own some of what happened yesterday with its conservative right wing talk show hosts Smith, Beckmann, Gordon, Limbaugh, and Levin. They have been stirring the pot for 4 years. Look, I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think that there are certain mediums where you can come to expect an opinion. You can come here to expect thoughtful research and fact-based opinions. But if you go to Fox News, if you go to CNN, if you go to MSNBC or ABC or CBS, those are what we once knew as journalistic news outlets. But those lines have blurred. They're not necessarily journalistic outlets anymore. Those are in most cases, in a lot of cases, I should say, maybe not, but in a lot of cases,
U.S. Capitol's defense, and it's a picture of them celebrating.
I mean, I just think at some point we need to, I don't know, we just need to tone everything down. Those places should be for news. Those places should be journalism. There should be no opinion injected into their news. Now, unless you want to specifically mention and disclaim a particular show that this is an opinion, fine, we can do that. Bill Hemmer is a lot different than Sean Hannity. Different, totally different. There's a lot less opinion from Bill Hemmer as there is from Sean Hannity. Different, totally different styles and shows, yet they're both on the same network. Not saying you can't have both, but let's specify. Let's make sure people understand. I don't think the media is just should go scot-free here. I think there's certainly a level of responsibility that we have to bear. Frank, I truly disagree. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post are all relentless in their daily bashing. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. You can report facts. I mean, if you inject one, look, this is what Dick Hafner taught me when I was in our news department with him. One single word can change an entire story, can change the entire complexion of a story. And it happens a lot in articles written or things that have, whether it's, reports or whatever, there are things that they're just small words that can change the total complexity of a story. So we have to be very careful. So the media has to be very careful. Nick, AKA Jack Hole Jr. Yes. LOL. JJ for short. Agreed. I saw that too, Nick. The Lions defense is capital. Yeah, it's funny. Had to switch off WJR today. I put on KTRH out of Houston, Texas. Too much belly aching on WJR. Okay, great. I hope you find what you're looking for, Steve. That's totally fine. Good. We'll have you back some other point, hopefully. So I think it's time that we all have to take a step back and reevaluate and change some things. Media, people, everybody.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. It's the number for you to call or text. We'll try to get to as many phone calls as we can going forward. But yesterday when things like this happen, unfortunately, it brings a lot of questions to mind. And one of them that I had specifically is when you're talking about law enforcement, when you're talking about intelligence, the intelligence community, how do they prepare for a rally like this, where you're going to have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in an area. How do you prepare not only just security in terms of like making sure people are safe, but then preparing for and going through, I would imagine, so much information, so many social media profiles and whatever. What do you do? What are the steps that are taken to plan for something like this? Not only to keep people safe, but to keep, now in this case, buildings safe or people in those buildings safe. So I couldn't think of anybody better to talk to about this. Andy Arena, former head of the FBI in Detroit and head of the Detroit Crime Commission here, joins us now this morning. Andy, good morning to you.
Hey, Chris, good morning.
It was a disappointing scene yesterday. It was a sad scene. And it eventually turned out to be a deadly scene as one person was shot, later pronounced dead, and 3 others died of medical emergencies that were on the scene. It was just a sad day all around. And it got me to thinking, what do you do in law enforcement? What do other folks like you in law enforcement and the intelligence community do to prepare for an event like this?
So I know this morning as the dust settles, they're going to be doing what's called a hot wash, and they're going to be looking at what happened and how it happened and what they did right and unfortunately what they did wrong. But really, to get to this point, it starts a lot earlier. And Chris, this was not just some random Tuesday in July. This was a constitutionally set date. They knew that Congress was going to be meeting to fulfill their duties and responsibilities with respect to the Electoral College. You knew that thousands of people were going to be showing up in Washington to protest. We know that the country is very agitated and fractured at this point. And so all of that put together should have led authorities in Washington, D.C. to really be putting some forethought and some planning into this. So, obviously you want to balance people's constitutional First Amendment right to free speech and to protest with the safety of others, with the national security, with protecting that building, protecting Congress. So there is a lot of thought, and you mentioned some of the things. Intelligence gathering. Who's coming, why are they coming? You obviously don't want to infringe on anybody's right to free speech, but I think it was highly likely that some folks were coming there looking for a fight. And so, the planning, the intelligence, putting together the proper plan, having enough resources there to protect the building, to protect Congress, that is what should have been happening.
As the investigation continues from both law enforcement and the intelligence community, and I'm sure anybody who has any responsibility investigating will be doing just that. But there are so many different things that are floating out in the ether, whether it be this is people like Antifa who have disguised themselves as Trump supporters that are going in and causing problems, whether it be actual Trump supporters themselves. How do you find out exactly who is responsible here, and then how do you trace it back to, do you just do a deep dive into who they are?
Yeah, fortunately, Chris, a lot of this is on video, and so there is a lot of evidence that the investigators can go through to see who these people are and to identify them. There's social media footprints out there, fingerprints. I'm sure that a lot of these individuals were out there making their positions known, kind of whipping others up into a frenzy. So from that standpoint, you should be able to identify some of these folks and do what you need to do. I think it's pretty clear what caused this. I know there's going to be some conspiracy theorists, and I talked to Kevin and to Guy Gordon last night about this. I think it's pretty clear. Don't need any deflection at this point. We need people to own up, and to me, this is a real soul-searching moment for us as a nation. To really, this morning we should really be looking inside ourselves and at each other and trying to figure out how did we get to this position where our capital was attacked.
Yeah.
And how do we not get to this position ever again?
Well, and you make an interesting point when you say that we can't deflect anymore. We have to do this for ourselves. And I'll tell you who believes that more than anybody. It's law enforcement. It's intelligence. Because you're the ones who are on the front line. You're the ones who have to deal with this first. I know that you guys don't want to be dealing with this. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Because I think it would take this level of disappointment and sadness to another level. It used to be that there were no gates around the White House, right? But as threats grew, as there were more dangers present, just like anything else, people used to keep their doors unlocked, right? It's just everything changes, so you take the extra precautions. One of the great parts about our U.S. Capitol is the fact that it is open. You can go up to the steps, you can take pictures, you can go and look around and see the architecture, and you can really take it all in. Could you see a scenario in which that changes, where now the people's house is maybe not quite as accessible to the people?
Definitely. Chris, I've been in and out of that building 100 times and hundreds of times. And you're exactly right. I mean, it is what it is. The whole city is just, it's magical. It's our capital, and it's so open, and it's just a great place to visit and spend some time. And, I think as we did post 9/11, I think we're going to have to rethink how we handle security at the Capitol and at other buildings in Washington. And that's sad. I think some of that openness is going to be gone, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. We appreciate your insights as always. And I think, as I said a couple times today, I think more information is going to be coming out today. Certainly, I would imagine the rest of this weekend, the weekend, and probably even further about what happened here. And we can kind of, go with it then. But I think it's time that we all just kind of dial down on a lot of the heat. And I know that, we talked to Debbie Dingle this morning. She said the same thing. So I hope for their sake, for our sake, that's true. And certainly for our friends in law enforcement and intelligence, we hope the same thing. Andy Arena, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Chris, thank you.
Yep, there he is. Andy Arena, former head of the FBI and head of the Detroit Crime Commission here in our area. All right, more to come on the Frank Beckmann Show, 800-859-0957. 1043, let's get an update on our roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Slow-moving maintenance vehicle 275 southbound between Michigan Avenue and 94. That left lane is closed for midday construction. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Our forecast that features a lot of overcast here as we head through the afternoon, mid-30s. Overnight tonight, break up the clouds a bit, upper 20s. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sunshine with highs in the low 30s. Saturday and Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine with highs in the mid to upper 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stagicon, News Talk 760 WJR.
Thank you for calling the Complete Battery Source.
This is probably a long shot, but you guys have batteries for it?
Yep, got that.
But you didn't even hear what I was looking for.
Don't need to. We're your complete battery source. The answer is pretty much always, yep, got that.
But what if I want a battery for it?
Yep, got that.
I haven't been able to find a battery anywhere for my...
Yep, got that. Look, Complete Battery Source has batteries for everything that uses batteries. Your tablet, your car, cordless drill, camera, smartphone, your laptop computer, your remote, your bulldozer, backhoe, Bluetooth speaker, motorcycle, lawn tractor, your boat, your watch, your flashlight, even your grandma's hearing aid. When you think you need a battery for something that uses batteries, we'll bring that something in and we'll test your old battery before we sell you a new one.
That's great.
That's right. All you have to do is come into any one of the 6 Complete Battery Source locations in Brighton, Southfield, Ypsilanti, Okemos, Houghton Lake, or Ann Arbor. Call 877-ALL-BATS. That's 877-ALL-BATS. Or click on yepgotthat.com to order.
Yep, got that. But what about a battery for my...
Yep, got that.
Or a battery for my...
Yep, got that.
And for my wife's...
Yep, got that.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider and are only available if the provider determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. You pay just $30 for a month's supply. And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. That's right, free. Zero copay, no expensive appointments, no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Hims connects you to doctors online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. And a pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free online visit. forhims.com/joy.
Paid for by Lose Debts. Attention, this is a very important message to anyone with debt exceeding $10,000. With the worldwide stock markets free-falling, coronavirus being labeled a global pandemic, cities and whole countries in quarantine, and layoffs picking up speed, the last thing you need to worry about is your credit card bills. Due to the recent global events, a special debt relief helpline has been created for anyone with over $10,000 in debt, but you must call us at 800-805-7728. As banks shore up capital bracing for a recession, they are willing to settle your debt for a fraction of what you owe, making it a perfect time to eliminate your debt and save your money during these tough economic times. There are no upfront fees, and we offer a 100% money-back guarantee. But you must call us at 800-805-7728. This opportunity won't last long, so call us today at 800-805-7728. You have enough to worry about. Settle your debt and remove that unneeded stress. 800-805-7728. That's 800-805-7728.
Let's face it, life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like celebrating Grandma's 50th wedding anniversary with close family. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. Yeah, I think he burned the beef. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
And this would be that would be a real shame. We just talked to Andy Arena, and I just asked him about making there used to be no gates around the White House, but now there are, for good reason, and for a very long time, and even now there have been no barricades around the Capitol. And with an event like this, you just wonder if it will remain accessible. There are certain things, landmarks, that you just, when things happen to them, it just draws a response from you. Just does. The Capitol's one of them. I don't think anybody should be against, your right to protest. Nobody is. That's guaranteed to you under the Constitution. That is one of your rights as an American. But yesterday, a fraction of people didn't just protest. It turned into something different, turned into something darker. It turned into something different than a protest. And unfortunately, one of our iconic landmarks, the place where we conduct our business as a country, was taken over. It was vandalized. So that's a problem I have. And so I very much hope, because the Capitol's a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place. It's historic. And when that is when now it's got this like this stink on it, this like taint. It's just tainted. So I think it's a shame. I think it's sad, and we all went through those emotions. So I settled on sad, settled on disappointed. Everybody has a right to protest, but when it turns, all of a sudden, it's not a protest anymore. And that goes for anybody who's willing to engage in illegal activity at a protest. All of a sudden, what you're arguing for, what you're advocating for, what you're there protesting, all of a sudden is diluted. It doesn't have the same gusto. And that goes for every single person in this country who protests something, and it turns into violence. It turns into something else. All of a sudden, your message just doesn't resonate anymore. So I very much hope that a place like the Capitol stays open to us. But we'll see. I don't know that I'm really confident in that. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Patrick in Royal Oak. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Chris. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Yeah, Chris, I think there's a basic question that would clarify the situation. And this is a question that should be asked of Democrat leaders and those in the mainstream media. The simple question is this: if the mainstream media had given proper and fair, balanced coverage of our president over the last 4 years, and if Democrats had not put forth all these bogus investigations, impeachment trials, etc., of our president, do you think this event at the Capitol would have occurred yesterday? I say no, it wouldn't have. What do you think?
I don't know. It's an interesting. It's an interesting question. I think that, there are a lot of people that feel that something went nefarious with the election. So if that, and look, maybe not. Maybe this is all pent up and it's all built up, and now this is like shaking a 2-liter and then trying to pull the cap off. Maybe that's what it is, and it just built up and built up and built up, and then finally this last thing that people believe, which now we know is not accurate, and now finally the president has said there will be a peaceful transition of power. With all of that being said, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe it wouldn't have. And I think, but Patrick, I think it goes to show that the media has to look at themselves.
Right.
They have to change what they're doing. I think there needs to be a certain level of fairness, but there also has to be a certain level of understanding what their role is.
Well,
and
if there's a positive from this, Chris, I think it might be this. In my opinion, the new administration is, that their party, the Democratic Party, has been taken over by radicals. If there's a silver lining to this, I think it's this. I think after this situation at the Capitol with the outpouring of all these protesters and so forth, I think they would be less inclined, hopefully, to push some of their radical ideas on the American public, because I think they realize there would be a backlash. A lot of Americans are not happy.
Well, Patrick, and look, I appreciate the call. Thank you. But I think also at some point, this right now, I mean, in the immediate, needs to be about somehow working together and figuring this thing out. Maybe you're right. And I hope that could be true. But at the same time, I think everybody needs to check themselves a little bit in DC. That's all. I just think that and look, Debbie Dingell said it, and I think we should hold her to it. That they're gonna try to tamp this thing down. I very much hope that's true. But at the end of the day, I mean, that has to be something that they take on. That has to be an organizational change. And I think that can happen for a little while. It's whether or not that they can sustain it. Because again, politics will continue on. I mean, make no mistake about it. This game of politics does not stop. Yesterday was nice because they were able to continue their constitutional duties. They were able to continue and hold true to their oaths. But again, politics will continue. The game rolls on. That doesn't change. So, I mean, a lot of these same ideas that they have, the ideas don't just vanish. But maybe in the way in which they go about it changes, at least for a little while. All right, then my hunch is that it eventually reverts. But we'll see. Time will tell. I think they're saying the right things now, which is at least the first step. But in terms of our national media outlets, no, absolutely things need to change. If Anderson Cooper is a journalist, then Anderson Cooper need not call people names. Should not call people names. That's an opinion. And the same goes for others. So I think there's a lot of cleanup that needs to, clean up on aisle 5. Let's do this thing. Let's figure this out. But I think it's fair to wholly reject violence. It doesn't turn into, it's not a protest anymore when things go south like that. No matter who you are. 800-859-0957. All right, more of the Frank Beckmann Show coming up. Chris Renwick in for Frank, who's on vacation. But first, before we head to the news with Marie Osborne, we got to check our situation out on the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Just looking at the midday construction, Chris, slow-moving maintenance vehicle has your left 2 lanes blocked due to a work crews on the scene that's scheduled until noon today in Novi along M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. We get the same day as far as forecast is concerned. Again, this Thursday, clouds, a high of 35. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, your low 27. Some clouds and peaks of sunshine on Friday and a high of 32. Currently 33 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
Learn all about heart attack, stroke prevention, artery disease, and how to beat the widowmaker from Dr. Brian Colander, MD, arteriologist and internal medicine specialist. Tonight at 7:05 p.m. on News Talk 760 WJR.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Detroit's News Talk, 760 WJR.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
WJR Detroit and WDVD HD2 Detroit. 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk.
A senior law enforcement official confirming to Fox News that they have found 2 explosive devices at the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters during yesterday's violence on Capitol Hill. The acting Department of Homeland Security Deputy Secretary Ken Cicinelli tells America's Newsroom searching for suspicious packages, part of their job during the demonstration.
All day yesterday, we were going through identifying suspicious packages, not only in D.C., but also in Northern Virginia as well, and paying close attention to that. Obviously, this part of yesterday worked out safely. None of these devices hurt anyone, but the fact that they were used and deployed at all is something that will be run down as a very serious aspect.
And the law enforcement official also confirming ATF rendered the devices safe. There are some concerns about security and safety at President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration in less than 2 weeks after this problems yesterday on Capitol Hill. Again, Ken Cicinelli addressing that.
America can be very confident that inauguration will be very safe. The Secret Service has been planning for it for months. They're in the lead on that. And you can fully expect all the lessons of yesterday to be absorbed and deployed.
Joe Biden will be taking the presidential oath of office on January 20th. And the FBI seeking to identify the people instigating violence in Washington yesterday. The FBI accepting tips in digital media depicting rioting or violence in and around the Capitol. If you have any information, you can go to fbi.gov/US Capitol. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell says some staff members who had the presence of mind to grab items of historical significance and then take them into hiding with them yesterday as the violence progressed on Capitol Hill.
The history that, thank God, we had staff that knew what some of the most.
All right, let's see here. Chris, my remark was based on the words never acceptable, just saying that at times in history, violence is acceptable. However, now in our situation, no, definitely not the time. And I'm not sure. I mean, look, I understand what you're saying. I don't know that, right. I don't know that ever at all at this point in our existence as a country, in our history at this present time, I don't know that violence ever is acceptable anymore. We shouldn't be at war with ourselves. That's counterproductive. So no, I don't know that violence is ever acceptable anymore. Chris, I agree. After yesterday, all kinds of areas will change their security just to be safe and prepared. Sorry to say. I mean, I hope not. I mean, I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but it's hard to think otherwise at this point. I think something like this attack has been festering over many years. Trump was never seen as a legitimate president by the left and immediately started talking about impeachment, throwing Russiagate, spy, and then a pandemic, and the mainstream media and how we communicate on digital media. Stories about Hunter and Joe Biden, and they are compromised. People expecting investigation and reports by Bill Barr that never came. The loss of an election by Trump and his reaction with his 75 million followers. Yeah, I mean, I think it probably is a lot of built up frustration. Christopher is so cool. Rocco, you're the only one who thinks that. Guy should not be on this. That's not true. No, it's not true. He's right. Nick is right. It's not true. Guy should not be on the list. He tries to pull the conversation in the middle and he tries to dismiss alternative facts. Yeah, I think Guy does a really good job of that. And again, I think in terms of fairness, I mean, yeah, that's Guy Gordon. I think we all strive to be that way. So look, here are the facts. Joe Biden will be president, and Kamala Harris will be the vice president, and they will serve 4 years, and then we will have the opportunity to vote based on what you believe. Bill, thank you. I think you're cool too. It's very nice. This is a very kumbaya moment now. This is incredible. We're making progress here, Nick. You see how we do things here on the Frank
bringing everyone together.
Wow. Maybe I should run for office. I'll bring my guitars and I'm not
sure you can win anything after admitting you're a Game of Thrones nerd.
Why?
I'm just kidding.
What? I mean, Ed Sheeran was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Think that'll help your case?
No, probably not. So yeah, I don't know. Look, I just think I very much hope that what got lost in all this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, gone.
Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
I was in the chamber when they ultimately started to shut it down, and the reports were pretty clear that there were people overtaking some of the doors and storming the Capitol, and there's no place for that.
To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house.
I want to get back in that chamber tonight to show that that mob cannot control this government, that we are so much better than what transpired, and will show what democracy looks like to the rest of the world, that we can have a transfer of power peacefully like we've done every year before. And we will debate issues, but we will not act this way.
At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself.
President Franklin Roosevelt set aside December 7th, 1941, as a day that will live in infamy. Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021, to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy.
The United States Senate will not be intimidated. We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation.
May God bless the lost, the injured, and the heroes forged on this day. May God bless all who serve here and those who protect this place. And may God bless the United States of America. Let's get back to work.
So on this holy day of Epiphany, let us pray. I'm a big believer in prayer. Let us pray that there will be peace on earth and that it will begin with us.
We've fulfilled this solemn duty every 4 years for more than 2 centuries. Whether our nation's been at war or at peace, under all manner of threats, even during an ongoing armed rebellion and the Civil War, the clockwork of our democracy has carried on.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes. The purpose of the joint session having concluded, pursuant to Senate Concurrent Resolution 1, 117th Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
It was a grim scene yesterday, and again, we all went through those emotions, confusion. I asked myself why a lot, and then you get to the stage where, okay, this is really happening. I really hope nobody gets hurt. And we got the information and the reports and the rumors that shots had been fired, and then things really took a turn. And then it just became sadness, disappointment. You know, the other thing it probably did, and I know Boris Johnson tweeted something out of the UK. It just looks bad. What are we doing? We don't do this. We don't do this to ourselves. You know, I mean, come on. What's the old I think it's a military saying, like, you know, don't poo-poo where you eat, right? This is not what we do. And we certainly we don't do it at our Capitol building. Come on. It's not acceptable. Protesting is acceptable. And then when it evolves and turns into something different, it's not acceptable. So, and I left yesterday. I mean, you know, when things finally settled down, everybody's able to take a breath. And I was left, and I'm sure you were too, just left stunned, saddened, disappointed, shocked that something like this would happen. And, you know, one person shot and killed, 14-year Air Force vet out of California. Ashley Babbitt did 4 tours in Iraq and was a Donald Trump supporter. And it sounded like they weren't, they were going there to start something. Again, investigations will hopefully uncover more, so we can say for sure. But until then, we're going to wait to find out what exactly happened. Meanwhile, many of the president's most important and, I would say, influential supporters, I mean, they bailed yesterday. They didn't feel that he did enough to stop this or something. I mean, you talk about Lindsey Graham, not the former Pistons player. Lindsey Graham out of South Carolina, the senator, just bailed in passionate speech on the Senate floor. It was just disappointing to see. I wish it had gone differently. And now we're getting reports. I want to make sure I get this right, so bear with me here. Facebook has banned Donald Trump from using its platforms indefinitely. Facebook will ban President Trump from using its social media platforms indefinitely, founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced Thursday morning. That includes Instagram, where Trump has more than 24 million followers, and Trump's Facebook page, which has around 36 million followers. The shocking events of the last 24 hours clearly demonstrate that President Trump intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power to his elected successor, Joe Biden. His decision to use this platform to condone rather than condemn the actions of his supporters at the Capitol building has rightly disturbed people in the U.S. and around the world. We removed these statements yesterday because we judged that their effect and likely their intent would be to provoke further violence. I do want to read you the whole statement here, so I'll keep going. Following the certification of the election results by Congress, the priority for the whole country must now be to ensure that the remaining 13 days and the days after inauguration pass peacefully in accordance with the established democratic norms. Over the last several years, we have allowed President Trump to use our platform consistent with our own rules, at times removing content or labeling his posts when they violate our policies. We did this because we believe that the public has a right to broadcast possible access to political speech, even controversial speech, but the current context is now fundamentally different, involving use of our platform to incite violent insurrection against a democratically elected government. We believe the risks of allowing the president continue to use our service during this period are simply too great. Therefore, we are extending the block we have placed on his Facebook and Instagram accounts indefinitely and for at least the next 2 weeks until peaceful transition of power is complete. That is from Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg. And with that, we have to go to break. 11:14 here on the Frank Beckmann Show. We got to check traffic and weather with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Just looking at construction along M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. Your left 2 lanes are blocked due to a midday work crews in the area. That's scheduled to wrap up at noon today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
I was trying to use some meteorological will and try to change this pretty boring forecast, but I couldn't do it. The overcast will stay with us, and we stay in the mid-30s today. Tonight, 27, suburbs maybe a little cooler. Friday, clouds, sun, high 33, and we'll keep it dry and relatively mild over the weekend. A mix of clouds and sunshine, highs in the mid-upper 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stagik on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Livernoy, Superintendent of Warren Consolidated Schools. We've known for years that children do better academically and socially when they feel connected at school. So when the pandemic closed schools last March, we knew that children would need to stay connected at home. So we purchased over 12,000 computers so they could remain connected at home. To connect your child with an opportunity like this, call 1-888-4-WCS-KIDS or visit online at WCSKids.net.
If I could be you.
All right, let's see here. Where am I at? I think I missed some. Gotta go up. Chris, you demand. Oh, thank you, Mark. You demand too. At least we can look back at history, Bill. Both parties have had control of House, Senate, and presidency, and neither has taken us to the extreme right or left. It's almost like they work together to pass their worst legislation. That's funny. Yep, Mark Zuckerberg made the post. Zuckerberg's a jerk. Shared his post on my wall. I believe Twitter did the same thing last night. And Ronna McDaniel is not going to seek another term for the RNC. I haven't seen. I don't know if is that Ronna McDaniel news. I haven't seen that. Let me look it up here. I haven't seen that. Maybe it's on one of her social media pages, but yeah, I did have to. I felt like I needed to read that Zuckerberg thing. You know that's a different. I feel like slippery slope. Removing people from a social media platform is. I mean, that's pretty tough. That's. I don't. That seems to be pretty extensive. Call to just remove people based on. I mean, I don't know. I guess hopefully we'll get some more clarification from them. But wow. With all due respect, Chris, the narrative you and Marie Osborne reading the news are putting out there today is that Trump supporters are responsible for this violence. There are several eyewitness accounts and photos that suggest Antifa was at work in this, and this was a scripted movie designed to tarnish the image of an otherwise peaceful protest. How about practicing what you're preaching about waiting until the facts come out? Oh, wait, that will never happen because we'll never know. Well, okay. So let's start with the most, probably one of the most sad pieces here, Kelly. Ashley Babbitt was the protester who was shot and killed yesterday. She was inside the Capitol building. She said, and I want to make sure I get this right. Where is it? So apparently, Babbitt tweeted, "Nothing will stop us." This was before the breach of the Capitol. She tweeted, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here, and it is descending upon D.C. in less than 24 hours. Ellipsis, ... Dark to light."
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's number 4 to call or text. I do want to read this text from an unnamed texter. "For God's sake, the breach came at the hands of a very small percentage of people at that rally. It's not like the whole dang crowd attacked the Capitol. The media, WJR news pieces, and you, Chris, are acting like the supporters of Donald Trump all participated. That couldn't be further from the truth and in reality." And then he put, "Come on, man." I'm assuming that's the Joe Biden "come on, man," which I love. It's one of my favorite drops. But I will say this. I don't know how many time and look, maybe I don't expect everybody to listen all the time, although you should. But I don't think that the whole crowd, I think I've said multiple times today that the whole crowd did not participate. A very small percentage of people participated. But that dilutes the message. It dilutes what you're trying to get across. And I feel the same way about any other protest that turns violent, that turns to breaking the law, that turns to looting, that turns to burning, that turns to destruction. It all is the same thing. You want to protest, do it peacefully, do it loudly, and then that is a stronger message. I didn't say the whole crowd was involved at all. But some people were. And just because a lot of people didn't participate doesn't mean that we should take away from the people that did. They did something wrong. They should be legally held for what they did. to the fullest extent of the law. That is true. But nobody thinks that the whole crowd, that every single person who went to Washington, D.C. participated in breaching our Capitol building. That's not accurate. Nobody has said that. Nobody will say that. But unfortunately, when you go to protest and demonstrate against something that you think is fact, you dilute your message. And it happened in Portland. It happened in California. Happened in Chicago. It happened everywhere, and now it's happened in D.C. This is not acceptable. It should not be held. It should not be even viewed acceptable under any circumstances from anybody. That's where we're at. So I understand what you're saying. I don't think you can listen all day, and that's fine. But my goodness, no, not every person who was in D.C., not every person who attended that rally was in the wrong. No, they should not face charges. But the people who did will. Or at least they should. And I imagine they will. So, again, it was a sad event. I don't know. I don't know. The pushback on this is baffling to me. And look, here's the reality. Is we let Congress do their work. We let Congress do our work. That's why we elect them and send them there. They go to do our work. They take an oath to the Constitution, and they do our work. That's the facts. And they did that yesterday, and I was thrilled to see that they stuck around and did their job. That's the facts. The facts are Joe Biden will be president. He will be inaugurated on January 20th. That's the facts. And so they will take control. They will do what they see fit. And if you don't like it, in 2024, you can go out and make your voice heard. That is our system. It's how it always has been and how it should be. We are a republic that is envied by much of the world for how we can conduct our business. And yesterday was embarrassing. It was sad. That's the facts. That's what we deal with. And yes, we will wait for more information to come out. We will make sure that we are doing our due diligence to bring you the information that is investigated by law enforcement, by the intelligence community. We will wait. Heck, I don't even know who shot this woman from San Diego. I don't even know. We don't know yet. I don't know who shot her. But that will come out. So that's where we deal. That's where we're at now. 800-859-0957. Let's head on out to Rochester and talk to Dave. David, good morning.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm but could be better. I wish we didn't have to do this today.
No, it's none of us should be surprised by this. You shouldn't be surprised. We fomented this. We inspired it. We let this go, and now we're pretending like it's everybody's fault. Oh, we all gotta calm the volume down. No, this is easily can precisely be laid at the source of where this problem emanated from. I mean, you start with yesterday. You got the five basic players. You got Trump, his son, Giuliani. You got the two senators, Josh Hollings. You got Ted Cruz. These are people who know better, who keep saying, "Oh, we don't know this," despite the 60 people the 60 court cases, the people telling him over and over again, no, that's a conspiracy, this and that. But yet these people encourage them. Here, march with me. Let's do combat. The sites, they got the other sites they go on with their detailed plans. It's just like Charlottesville. I mean, the guy you talked to yesterday at 101, at the 1 hour and 1 mark on your YouTube tape from Oakland County, I'm not going to say his name, taking the 10 buses down, Oh yeah, that's fine. Like he says some ridiculous amount that could easily charge about the fraud, the steal that could easily be refuted. And more or less, you listen throughout your 7-minute conversation with them. What do you say? Okay, well, see, they say keep us abreast of what's going on. Never did I hear you say, where in the world are you getting that from? That's already been.
Dave,
formats like this.
Okay, but Dave, hold on. Let me say, who am I to tell this guy that he can't go protest? Who am I? He can go protest that the earth is flat. What am I supposed to do about that? That's his prerogative. I got no role in that. I got no role to tell him what he can and cannot protest, where he cannot protest. I can certainly give him some pointers that you shouldn't go AWOL and attack the Capitol building. That I'd give him that pointer. I'm in no position to tell somebody they can and cannot protest something that they see fit. That's not my place. But look, it was a bad scene. And believe me, investigators, police, they'll get to the bottom of it. 800-859-0957. Off to the roadways we go. We'll get an update there with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Just looking at some midday construction to
Chris,
hi.
We there is now a new richest person in the world.
Really?
Did you see that?
No.
Partly
Is
cloudy.
it me?
27
no,
on Friday.
no.
Some
Did my
clouds.
0.000 or 0.000000294
Keep going.
Bitcoin finally cash through?
No. Keep looking.
All right.
Elon Musk has surpassed Jeff Bezos as the richest
Really?
person on the planet. Yep. Had a big stock boost today.
Interesting. So that put him over the top. So what's he at now?
At 10:15 a.m., his net worth was 188.5 billion, which is 1.5 billion more than Jeff Bezos.
Wow. Well, and that's staggering too, because Jeff Bezos just went through a divorce. He gave half it away.
Yeah. Do you think that matters in this calculation?
Sure. I mean, I would think so. I mean, I don't
know if your spending really matters in
Well, I mean, it's not his money anymore though, right? Like it's not his anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't
think it's as much cash on hand as you have as you're worth.
Well, if it's based on cash at hand, look out.
You're up there. Yeah.
I'm up there.
Yeah.
I've got like $14.
I'm surprised you didn't lead with this today. The Lions are now at 10 general managers they've interviewed, and will be
10?
interviewing 10 candidates.
Okay.
And will now interview Robert Saleh for their head coaching position today.
Today?
Yes. That's your guy, right?
I'm a Bieniemy guy.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a Bieniemy guy. I mean, look, I don't know. I think it's important at this point, as important as it is from an X's and O standpoint. I want somebody that is a leader. that can go out there and inspire these guys to play really top, high end football.
Yeah.
Even if especially like in the next couple years, right? Like it's going to be really difficult to overhaul this roster like quickly. So I mean, I think you're going to have to. I mean, I think even for at least next season, you got a certain talent that is accustomed to playing a certain way, so you kind of coach to the talent you have, right? So it may be a couple years before we see like what the vision is here. At least that's kind of been the precedent. Some places have done it really quickly, like Buffalo. I think when they took over, when McDermott took over, like you got to play the level, or coach to the level that you have.
Yeah.
And then you can slowly transition out and do the things that you want to do. And now they're full blown there. And then you look at somebody like, KC, even like really like quickly just jumped into what they wanted to do. And maybe it's just based on the roster that you have. Maybe you can do that. But to me, it seems like this is going to be more one of those gradual processes.
So you're saying coaching is important.
Well, coaching is important, but I'm more interested in having somebody that is just like strong leader, strong morals, that's like a real player's coach.
That's what Rod Wood said in their
I think that is important.
They're more focused on attitude and character and leadership than accomplishments, which is
true.
A smart thing to do.
Absolutely.
Who cares how many Super Bowls or division titles you won somewhere else? It's a different team.
It doesn't matter. It's a different environment. It's a totally different atmosphere. I'm just looking for somebody, and maybe this next person isn't going to be the person that takes you to a Super Bowl, that takes you to the playoffs. I hope the playoffs, but at least if you don't get to the next level, maybe that's okay. But I am interested in somebody who's a real leader, and get these, at least get them playing up to a high level. So I didn't see the Freep article on Laura Cox. I was looking for it. Then I got sidetracked by Nick and his incessant Lions talk. Where is it at here? Let's see. Just got to do a search here, maybe. Oh, there it is. The Detroit News has it. 15 hours ago, Laura Cox, chairman of the Michigan Parliament, announced Wednesday that she won't seek re-election, paving the way for former chairman Ron Weiser to again lead the state's GOP. So Ron Weiser is the favorite here. Interesting. Oh, you saw it in Facebook 4 hours ago, Patrick. Yeah, it's at the Detroit News has it. So I just missed it 15 hours ago. Jeez, I have to sleep at the wheel. Let's see here. Yeah, missed a lot last night. It's true. Oh, it's true.
JR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. It's a number for you to call or text. And look, I think it would be disingenuous to be talking about anything else today, because what happened yesterday is the story, and the story is going to evolve, and it's going to change as investigations play themselves out. But from what we saw yesterday, it was just unbelievable. Couldn't believe it was happening. And so again, I think it's important to especially now, more than ever, that this situation is going to have to force some change, certainly in the media, in the national media level, but mostly from a lawmaker's perspective. And they're gonna have to change the way they do some things here. And so, very interested to see how they handle that. Again, I think it's easy to say we're gonna do that, like Debbie Dingle said. She told us today. Yeah, we're gonna turn the heat down. Starts with all of us. Starts with everybody in Washington D.C. And she is right. Of course, she's right. But it's whether or not they're going to do it or not. I'm confident that they'll be able to do it in the next 13 days. That's easy. That's the easy part. Everybody can come together and sing Kumbaya around the campfire after something like this happens. Fine. But what happens after that? What happens when Joe Biden takes office? What happens when the Senate goes control to the Democrats? What happens then? That's really where I'm interested in. Can you still sing Kumbaya around the fire? We'll see. They better. They have to. So we'll see how it plays out. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Ben in Southgate. Benjamin, good morning.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
I just wanted to express, with all the chaos that went on in Washington, the two Senate races that were won in Georgia, you just said if we don't like what Joe Biden does in 2024, there'll never be another Republican president, because the first thing the Democrats are going to do is make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states where they have 4 more senators, where they won't need Kamala Harris for the deciding vote. They won't need Joe Manchin to not stop all the chaos that is going to. We turned into a socialist nation yesterday with them 2 Democrats being elected in Georgia.
Well, look, the policy of it all is something that we'll have to, we of course will evaluate going forward. I mean, whether or not that now that they do have control, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, look, I think everything is on the table in terms of what they are proposing. I think that's fair discussion. We'll see how it goes. I mean, whether or not they're willing to work with Republicans, like Debbie Dingle suggests, is something that we'll have to see. But again, we got to at least give them a shot. And then if that changes, then fine. Then we can go, like I said, it's going to be easy to sing Kumbaya in the next 13 days. That's the easy part. It's, can they do it after that? We'll see. Let's go to White Lake, talk to August. Good morning, August.
Good morning, Chris. Great job as usual.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to the whole gang down there at WJR, okay?
You too. Appreciate you. Thank you.
I'll start off real quick. A little bit of a brain teaser. What's the one thing you're guaranteed in life today?
Death and taxes.
Pretty close. You got part of it. Change. Every day it changes. You never know what's going to happen next, my friend.
True.
Unfortunately, but yeah. Anyway, so my comment was that I'm 66 years old. I voted in every election since I've been 18. I have to say I voted for who I felt, after thinking and researching and stuff, would be the best person for the job. 2 of my proudest moments where I really, really enjoyed voting in person, always done it in person, was for Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Now, my thinking here is, despite all the rhetoric, and I think Kumbaya's coming, we're going to get through this, we'll be fine. Eventually, we have to. We have to keep existing as a nation, one nation under God. Yesterday, I went up to Lansing, to the Capitol, because they had a meeting about all this shutdown, and the people there were really, really good. Mostly Trump people, free Americans that were just sharing what they thought. And I'll tell you what, there's probably 300 people at the Capitol. And the people that hosted this meeting was very positive. And at one point, a preacher got up, a deacon, a minister, whoever he was. I didn't know any of these people personally. I went with my cousin. Everybody there was the same at every Trump rally I went to. Lansing, Grand Rapids, Oakland County, people that came from throughout the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, throughout Michigan, to a person, young, old, didn't matter what color, didn't matter what religion, extremely well behaved, talking, laughing, sharing.
Good.
I'm not kidding you. It was
That's how it should be.
Every one of them. Every one. No fights, no swear words, no drinking, no drugs, nothing. Just everybody enjoying the moment. It was incredible. The pastor comes, he goes, well, everybody kneel. Everyone that was there knelt as he said a prayer for this nation. Now, this is long before Trump's even talking. This is long before the whole thing in Washington is even happening. This is just happening as it happens.
Well, August, and let me. I want to say this to you. You tell me if I'm off base here, because that's how most people are. Most people are respectful, and if they want to exercise their right to protest, God bless, do your thing. But it's not everybody that is going to go haywire and break into a Capitol. Not everybody's going to do that. Most people are going to go and yell and make their voices heard, but not everybody's going to do it. And I think you saw a lot of the people yesterday who wouldn't do something like that.
Well, I agree, and I think when I looked at the tapes this morning of the people that were at that Capitol, those are not Trump people. I'm telling you right now, that's a setup. There were a lot of Antifa, BLM people, and those that.
Well, look, in August, I think there's going to be plenty of time to figure that out, but we're going to leave that up to law enforcement. We're going to leave that up to investigators who are going to look at this thing on a deep level. But until then, we're going to wait until we get word from them. 800-859-0957. All right. We'll finish off with some calls and texts coming up next, but first off to the roadways with Dana Clark.
Chris, looking at an accident reported first one of the morning along the Jeffries 96 westbound at Telegraph Road. A wreck there is blocking the right side. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com.
Well, when there's change, I'll be blaring the trumpets because this is pretty quiet. Cloudy sky through the afternoon, mid-30s. Overnight tonight, upper 20s. Some clouds around. Suburbs will be a little colder. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sunshine, 33. Saturday and Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine. Highs in the mid-upper 30s. From a Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stitching on News Talk 760 WJR.
Learn all about heart attack, stroke prevention, artery disease, and how to beat the widowmaker from Dr. Brian Colander, MD, arteriologist and internal medicine specialist. Tonight at 7:05 p.m. on News Talk 760 WJR.
For over 100 years, Absopure has remained committed to serving communities throughout Michigan. And now, in your changed work environment, Absopure is ready to serve you just as they always have. Absopure is dedicated to providing offices with top-notch refreshment and top-notch service. They offer a variety of bottled waters for office delivery, including natural spring, steam distilled, and vapor distilled with electrolytes. And each variety comes in an assortment of sizes, ranging from
Let's
individual
see
bottles.
here. I'll take this out. We'll put Nicholas in. Jan, as a conservative, I get it. It's the capital. But as you're saying, wrong is wrong, whether it's the capital or Target in California or Oregon. But when it was the Dems, the media would flaunt it in our face for days. I watched TVs being stolen, shoes, people shot, police injured. And after weeks and weeks, President Trump wanted to send in the National Guard, and he caught so much criticism asking the mayors and governors to act. And he calls in the National Guard. Look, here's the thing. Is all of that is wrong. All of it. All of it's wrong. Whenever you break the law, it is wrong. Whether you are breaking into the Capitol, it's wrong. Whether you set fire to a Wendy's, it's wrong. Whether you loot a Best Buy, it's wrong. Any laws that you are I don't know how clearly I can say this. I don't know how better to say it. Whether you are at a Black Lives Matter protest, whether you are protesting police violence, whether you are protesting an election, whether you are any of those things that you are protesting, anything that if you want to protest that the earth is flat, any of it. I don't care what you're protesting. It ain't my business to care what you're protesting about. But when you break the law, you should be held accountable. If you don't break the law, you should be allowed to continue to protest. If you're doing it in a proper manner, it's very, very cut and dry. I love August, but he's got the pro-Trump broad brushing working as if there aren't criminals, molesters, rapists that also support Trump, just as they Biden. A group is made up of individuals, and many of those individuals have already been found on social media. They are a great many Q supporters and Trump fans. Gosh, we are so biased, but I do love August. Such a good man. August is a good man. So we will see. But I gotta reiterate this again because I don't know where we're getting lost in translation.
Control back of their lives, creating a better and stronger community.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
Now listen, I want you to turn your radios up. I want you to listen very clearly to what I'm saying to you. I want you to really, really listen. I don't think everybody can listen to the whole show. I don't think everybody can listen to every show we ever have. I don't think you can do that, and I understand. But I want to be very clear, and I want you to really turn me up because I want you to hear this. It doesn't matter what you are protesting. I don't care if you're at a Black Lives Matter protest. I don't care if you're protesting police brutality. I don't care if you're protesting at a in front of the Capitol building to protest an election. I don't care if you're protesting that the earth is flat. I don't care if you're protesting that the son's name is Jim. I don't care. If you break the law, you should be held accountable. If you set fire to a Wendy's, you should be held accountable. If you are protesting peacefully, you should be allowed to protest. That is your right as an American. What are we missing here? I'm confused what the confusion is. If you break the law, you should be held accountable. If you are protesting peacefully, you should be allowed to protest peacefully. I'm just confused. Because I'm seeing a lot of texts here. I'm seeing a lot of comment. What do you think? I don't expect you to listen to every show we have. I understand that. We love it when you do. We love it when you drop in. We appreciate you. But if you think that we've just brushed over protests in Portland or protest in New York or California or Chicago, if you think we've just brushed it over and have no comment on it, you haven't been listening. Do you listen to Frank? I mean, I would imagine you know his stance on quite a few things. You think Frank's just, Chris, we're not going to talk about that today. You honestly believe that? Come on. It's wrong. If you break the law, it's wrong. Period. The end of story. Oh, okay. Now, I want to get back to the phones. Can I talk to Rich in Toledo, please? Richard, good morning.
Hey,
How are
Chris,
you?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you, Chris. I just wish it wasn't under these circumstances.
Agreed.
So my thought or question on this is how easy the Capitol was breached. I wonder if the police or law enforcement felt they had to be a little bit restrained with all the riots and the police protests that took place in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that had anything to do with how easy the Capitol was breached with all those? Because you think with the Washington, D.C. and Capitol, all the security and high-ranking officials, that'd be practically impossible to accomplish what was accomplished yesterday. And I wonder if all that stuff from 2020 and the protests and riots, if that came into play with reducing what the police would do to keep it under control.
Well, I think it's an interesting question, and I think it's really two parts. One, I don't know why there wasn't a bigger police presence. Okay, and I'm wondering if that did play a role. It's a really interesting point. It's very possible that that's the case. But number two, I'm wondering also, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'd love for you to tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm off base. But maybe they just didn't believe something was going to happen. Maybe this really was just, out of the blue. Maybe they were expecting people to come out and protest peacefully. Maybe there was no information that intelligence gathered or police gathered when they found out that a huge influx of people was coming to DC to participate in this rally. That there just wasn't enough evidence there to support that something crazy was going to happen. Now, I don't think that's a reason for you to not have a police presence there. But it is interesting, and maybe that did play a role, Rich. I don't know.
I just find it hard. It's not like this was a surprise event where all these thousands of people showed up and they weren't aware. They had to have planned security detail ahead of time, knowing that there were going to be thousands and thousands of Trump supporters coming on hand. I just find that very odd, and it looks so easy for them to overtake the Capitol, the capital of our country, and how easy it appeared to be. I don't know if it's just not proper planning, or maybe they felt their hands were a little tied back. I'm not sure, but that was just my thought, and I just wanted to get your input.
No, I think it's a really good call. I think it's a really good, and I think a lot of that, again, I'm gonna just default to I think a lot of that is going to come out after an investigation is kind of complete, and we start getting more information from law enforcement. I believe that they're going to find out what exactly happened. I think they're going to find out what went wrong on their end. I think they're going to find out if they dropped the ball. And if they did, I think they'll own up to it. But at present, I'm going to let law enforcement do their work. I'm going to let them figure it out, and then we can kind of go from there. But certainly in terms of allowing people in, I could see that. The police in the force that they use has been top of the headlines for months. So possibly. I absolutely could see that. All right, I want to pass this along to you two before we split. This is from, looks like Fox 2 Detroit. 6 people from Michigan have been arrested in connection to the Washington breach Washington situation unrest out there. 6 Michigan residents were arrested by law enforcement in Washington, D.C. amid the violent unrest that washed over the Capitol building that ended in the deaths of at least 4 people. The individuals identified by Washington, D.C. Metro Police were released after their arrest on Thursday. At least one of them was in possession of a firearm without a license and a large capacity ammunition feeding device, police said. Dozens of people were arrested in connection to the protest, over 50, that morphed into a mob storming the grounds of Congress where hundreds of Trump supporters entered the building, forcing lawmakers in both the House and the Senate to seek shelter. Yeah, we don't need that. 5 were arrested with curfew violations after the mayor of D.C. implemented a lockdown after 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. One was also arrested for unlawful entry. Another man from Cadillac was charged with carrying a pistol without a license, possessing a large amount of capacity ammunition feeding device, and possession of an unregistered ammunition. So that's the latest. I assume we'll get more information in terms of names, but that's the latest we have. So 6 people from Michigan were arrested in the events following yesterday, and including the breach of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. All right. It just a sad day. I'm hoping we can move past it, but again, we'll keep you up on all the latest as it becomes available in terms of what is being uncovered by investigators, because I think there's still a lot that we need to learn. And I think there's going to be a lot that we need to see out of our leaders in Washington, D.C. So I hope very much that we'll see those things. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Back tomorrow for Friday. Frank will be back Monday from his vacation. But in the meantime, have yourself a great Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, let's get one final check with Dana Clark on our traffic situation. Dana.
This report is brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance. Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators.
All right, let's see. Let's get to some final stuff here. Adam, so can Sheriff Chris Swanson. Love what he's doing out in Genesee County. Yeah, great guy. Bill, great show, guys. I think people are saying the reaction from the Dems is so different depending on who is doing the crime. Sure. Adam, amen, Chris. I watched from the get-go. Great guy. You got it, Chris. Wrong is wrong always. Great show again. I lost where I was at. Let's see. Chris, wait, you have been saying all morning Trump supporters breached the Capitol, but when someone says it was BLM and or Antifa, you want to wait and need to let the authorities figure it out. Is that fair? Well, I mean, look, I know there's at least one. I know there was at least one person who was in the Capitol that was a Trump supporter saying the storm was coming. So I know there's at least one. But yes, in terms of the allegations of somebody else with another group being there, yeah, I think we'll need to wait to hash that out. But you're going to continue saying it was Trump supporters. Again, they look like Trump supporters. So until I'm told differently by law enforcement, we'll go from there. There is no evidence. Viking guy was a Q supporter. 2 right-wing streamers were screenshotted in Pelosi's office. There were all kinds of indicators of Antifa. See you guys tomorrow. Tough but good show. Yep, tough show. Chris, of course. Chris, what do you have to understand? What you have to understand is that the law is not being applied equally across the country. In some situations, what safe word example Joe Biden's son-in-law is not being applied to him. You have a lot of people in this country that have lost respect for the rule of law. This does not release them of their responsibilities, but it also puts some of the responsibilities on lawmakers in law enforcement. Agreed completely. Patrick, great job on an interesting day. All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow. Nicholas, nice job.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Nice
you.
job.
And we will talk to you tomorrow. All right, have a good one, everybody.